In my last video, we talked about what coaching is and why the industry is a bit of a minefield right now, and about how it can be kind of hard to find the right coach for you. This episode, we're going to talk about that process, what to ask, what to look for in a coach, and how to make sure you get the right fit for you. If you haven't seen my last video, I'd recommend you go check that out first, and I'll put a link to it up here somewhere. But for now, I'll give you a quick rundown. The common idea of what a coach is stems from the sports world, where a coach would initially be telling you what to do, how to optimize your movement to get the best sporting performance. Modern coaching doesn't do this. It looks at widening your perspective, maybe looking at strategies that you might want to implement. It's all driven by you, because you are the expert in you. While being told what to do is very useful for specific things. You know, we follow a recipe when we're cooking for a reason. It's not always the most useful thing though when things are a little bit more nebulous, and actually it can be really damaging to be told what to do if you're just not in a place where you can make that happen. The industry is currently unregulated. Anyone can call themselves a coach. You don't have to have a qualification to be a coach. You don't need anyone's permission to be a coach. And so therefore it can be really hard to find someone who's actually trained and make sure that they know what they're doing and can get us the results that we need. With that in mind, I want to talk about this a little bit more, because while I say the market is unregulated, you don't have to have qualifications to be a coach. There are qualifications out there, and I personally am a qualified leadership coach, and I'd like to talk you through that process a little bit and what it means. There are a few awarding bodies for different coaching qualifications. The one that I'm qualified with is the International Coaching Federation, or the ICF. In order to reach the minimum standard for the ICF, you need to fulfill a number of requirements. The first of these is to have completed at least 60 hours of coach-specific training. So that is training specifically around being a coach. You also must have completed 10 hours of mentor coaching. So you must have worked with a more experienced qualified coach who's able to give you feedback and help you improve your coaching process. On top of that, you have to have experienced 100 hours of real coaching in the wild, as I like to call it, of honing your skills with real clients on real problems, no more case studies, actually out there practicing. And after all that, you have to take a final exam to make sure that you are in line with the standards and the practices and the ethics of the International Coaching Federation. It's a rigorous qualification, it takes a lot of time, and by the end of it, you've learned so much about coaching that you're ready to be unleashed as a qualified coach. If you are looking for a coach and you find someone that is ICF credentialed, the likelihood is you're in good hands. They've gone through the coach relevant training, they understand the person-centric approach, and they're someone that is probably pretty safe to go ahead and work with. There's also the European Mentoring and Coaching Council, which give out similar qualifications in Europe. If you, like me, have ADHD or want to see a coach who is trained in help with ADHD, there are ADHD coaching qualifications, so ADCA. ADHD Coaching Academy trains people to become ADHD coaches, so that's coach training with a specific focus in the ADHD space. There's also the Professional Association of ADHD Coaches, which works similarly to the ICF, but credentials people specifically in the ADHD coaching space. So with those qualifications in mind, if you would like coaching as I described it in my previous video, that very much person-centric approach where you get to be the person that leads where you need to go and grow with your coach rather than being told what to do, look for people with these qualifications and you're likely in safe hands. Now, I want to pause here, and I don't want to discount mentoring or coaching where they tell you what to do, because for very targeted things that can be very useful. I followed a coaching course on starting YouTube when I was preparing to film my first video, because I needed to learn a targeted thing that was very useful. So I'm not discounting those things, I'm talking about the wider coaching methodology. These are the sorts of things that you need to look out for. So now that we've talked about a few general things around qualifications that you need to look out for, I want to talk a little bit more about what to look out for in the individual that's coaching you once you know they've got the qualifications and it's all good. And the first thing I want to say as a coach who primarily coaches in neurodivergence is that I don't believe that you have to be the same neurotype as the person that you are coaching in order for the coaching relationship to work. And the reason I say that is because I've coached so many neurotypical people to really great success. So it doesn't have to be a requirement. One of the things we do as coaches is we open up your perspective. So for that reason, it can be really useful actually to have someone of a different neurotype. Or maybe you do want someone of the same neurotype because you feel a lot safer in that space, or you just want someone with shared experience who can empathize you. Both choices are perfectly valid. Having just said that, You do need to make sure if you are neurodivergent going to a neurotypical coach that they are open and understanding to neurodivergence. Coaches aren't perfect human beings, and occasionally they might make a mistake. You don't want them to accidentally make a mistake that is harmful to you due to your neurodivergence. So if they have that bit of understanding, that's really helpful for you to know that you're safe. If you would like to disclose your neurodivergence, then you can ask them who they've coached before, what their background is. A lot of us that work in the leadership space coach from a wide variety of the population. And I was actually coaching people with ADHD before I even questioned whether I had ADHD myself. And in fact, it was coaching people with ADHD that led me to my own diagnosis. Because most coaches do find people from all sorts of different neurotypes and backgrounds do come to them. So the likelihood is, even if they don't specify that they coach neurodivergence, they may have some experience, and it's worth asking about if you are comfortable disclosing. You don't have to tell them, of course. In fact, most of my early ADHD coachees that came up in conversation over the course of multiple sessions. I didn't know from the start, and actually I ended up in this space because I noticed the pattern of how many people were telling me they were neurodivergent through the sessions. So it doesn't have to be something you go into talking about from the start, and you don't have to mention it at all. It could just be that you vibe with this person. They make you feel safe. They make you feel like they can get you to where you need to go, and that's okay, regardless of whether you or they are neurodivergent or not. Having said that, if you are specifically looking for help with your neurodivergent, then you might want to go to a coach that specifically helps with that. So for example, there are lots of ADHD coaches out there. It's the most well-defined profession for neurodivergent coaching, which is why I refer to it a lot. Even though I personally am a coach that works with neurodivergence, I'm not an ADHD coach because my interests lie in helping with careers, not necessarily managing ADHD on a day-to-day basis. So while I do have some involvement with that as part of my coaching, it's not my primary focus. So when someone comes to me saying, hey, I want help managing my ADHD in day-to-day life, I'm going to send them to the way of an ADHD specific coach so that they get the support that they directly need in that space. The next thing to ask is about their coaching philosophy, and listen out for the things that I described in my last video around coaching to make sure that they're along the same understanding and the same lines as you. Make sure that what's important to you is something that's important to them and that they think that they can help with. And don't be afraid to challenge them on this. If you're starting to hear things that you're not so sure about, ask about them. Delve a little bit further into the process. It's your opportunity to assess whether they're a good fit for you or not. It might also be useful to ask about what they don't cover. Like my example of, I don't coach specifically managing ADHD every day, except where it comes up in conversations. And that to me says, if someone is looking for that, then we're not a good fit for each other, and that's okay. So finding out stuff that they don't do can almost be as useful as finding out what they do. And by the way, just a note on that, if you're wondering, am I not contradicting myself by saying I don't coach daily ADHD management? I do respond to the whole person that's in front of me. So if we've come for leadership, but actually this daily ADHD thing is getting in the way, let's talk about it. You don't have to not mention it or anything like that. I coach the whole person. It's just not my primary area of focus, and that's okay too. But the point of that is you want someone who is actually aligned with you and is open and is honest and isn't just there because they want your money. You want the coach to be someone that will work with you in the space that they want to work with you, and so getting an understanding of what they do is super important. Finally, and this is arguably the most important thing, your coach needs to be someone that you gel with, that you get on with, that you feel has the right vibe to you. You need to feel safe with them, because sometimes they're going to ask you things that are a little bit difficult. Sometimes they're going to challenge you, and if you don't feel safe with them, then you're going to not enjoy that process. It's going to be deeply uncomfortable, and you're not going to be able to trust them and make progress. So really the most important thing is, do you have a human to human connection? And can you work with this person and be vulnerable with this person to get you where you need to grow? Just because you started one coach, you can try them out for a little bit, and if it doesn't work, you can try another coach. That's okay. You don't have to stick to the same coach for life. But a coach can be one of the most impactful people in your career. So it's really important to find someone ultimately who does work for you. So that's all we have time for today. I hope this was educational. I hope this was interesting. I hope it gave you a little bit more of an idea what to look out for if you personally are thinking about embarking on a journey with a coach. I mentioned earlier I've done a whole episode on what is coaching, which you can find here, or if you'd like to see any of my other back catalogue, I talk about leadership, entrepreneurship and neurodiversity and coaching as well on a regular basis. Subscribe to see more of what's coming up in the future. I'll leave a comment down below with your thoughts, Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching.